Tommy Rex, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now, here's your host.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And apparently I'm catching up with an old friend and making some new friends today on the Black Market Heart. What's going on, everybody?
Hey, good to be here.
Good morning.
Yeah, great to have you guys. So, you know, usually when I have people on for the first time, I like to get a quick little background. So we'll start with you, Spencer. When you were little Spencer out there in LA, do you remember what you originally wanted to be when you grew up?
Yeah, I mean, I always knew that I wanted to be in film and music, film and or music. That's what I wanted to do. And, you know, I tried to go to college. That lasted a year, you know, and that didn't go well. And I just came back here and started to kind of do my thing, you know. And I when I was in my 20s, I joined this band called the Lords of Altamont. That were already around. They had one record out, and Shawn was in that band. And I played bass in that band for 5 years, and Shawn and I toured halfway around the world together, you know, just playing 17 or 18 countries, I think. And it was cool. And then eventually we both left that band just to do other stuff and stayed in touch. And I decided at some point that I wanted to start this band. And originally it was just like a little kind of solo project. And I did it with a drum machine and recorded everything myself. And then people started asking me if I wanted to play shows. And I was like, uh-oh. So I actually ran into Shawn at a show and asked him if he wanted to play, and he said yes, and we kind of took it from there. And there's been some lineup changes along the way, and it kind of like fits and starts, but we finally have a really killer lineup together now, and we just recorded a record that we just put out, and it's going great.
Awesome. And now, Tina, let me hear about when you were little Tina. What did you originally want to be when you grew up?
I mean, being little in Cleveland, I wanted to be an artist. To me, like art and music and dance were all intertwined. When you're little, you don't all you know of jobs is from the Richard Scarry book. But yeah, I didn't know that musician was a thing that you could be, except for like if you were in an orchestra, and I wasn't like really good at any of the orchestra instruments. I played the clarinet, but that didn't sound very good. But when I was really little, I wanted to be an artist, maybe a dancer too. Musician would fall into those lines, but I didn't see any examples of that as in front of me as a child in Cleveland, like when I was really little. But then, as I got older, my friends were in bands, and I saw you could be in a band, and I wanted to start a band. So finally I started a band, and, several decades later, I'm still in bands.
Nice. And what about you, Shawn?
Yeah, I've played in many bands over the years since I was about 15 years old, and just always kind of wanted to get into like touring and traveling in a band, and that was kind of my goal. But yeah, I played in a bunch of different projects, and I met up with the Lords of Altamont guys, joined that band for a while, almost about a decade. And we did a lot of touring extensively, and then me and Spencer recently, got back in touch with each other and started working on this project. But yeah, I've always I played multiple instruments. I started on drums, went to bass, then guitar, but now I'm back on the drums. So I really like.
Yeah, Shawn can play anything.
Shawn, I want to know what you wanted to be when you were little.
Oh, what I wanted to be? Oh, I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know. I just knew I wanted to rock. I wanted to play music.
It's even as a small child. That's great.
I don't know. Maybe I was a small child. I think I was really small. I wanted to be a jet fighter pilot, but anyway.
Ooh, that's good. You came close. You came real close.
Yeah. But yeah, later on, I decided I definitely want to go down this music road as far as I can take it, and I think I went pretty far. So I don't know.
And then we'll go back to starting with Spencer again. But when you were first exposed to music around the house, do you recall like some of the earliest influences?
Absolutely, yeah. I have both my parents love music and were really into music, which was great. And my dad was heavily into like your Beatles, your Stones, your Creedence, that love like kind of the cornerstones of like 60s and 70s rock. And my mom was into black music, so I got a really good kind of mix of like Sly and the Family Stone and the Rolling Stones. So I got a chance to kind of hear a lot of really cool music when I was young, and take it from there, So the first stuff I got into was kind of influenced by all of that. But yeah, I was very lucky to have a house where music was being played all the time.
Nice. And how about you, Tina?
When I was there, my music exposure as a child, my mom had kind of square music tastes. So there was, classical is still really big in Cleveland. We have WCLV, so that was always on. We have a wonderful orchestra. My mom's a retired French teacher, so there was a lot of Edith Piaf that as a child is not very appealing. It's very like melancholy and everything. Of course, I love it now, probably from the early exposure. That generation of like my mom and my uncle more so was into the Beatles. So the joke when I was little is that I was into Beethoven and the Beatles and couldn't really tell the difference between either. I just loved consuming music in all ways. And then, as I hit the early teenage years, I found punk, and then it was all over from there. But yeah, as far as musical exposure when I was young, it was we have a lot in Cleveland, and we have a really rich history of radio. Our radio market in Cleveland is really good. So there was a lot going on in those days. On the radio I remember like running around listening to Devo when I was little. It was, they were playing Whip It on the radio all the time. So all of that 80s stuff on the radio. And then, once MTV came into the mix, it was all over. So.
Nice. What about you, Shawn?
Okay, so yeah, my parents were both kind of into like your kind of classic rock stuff, Beatles, Stones, Bob Dylan, that kind of thing. But growing up, probably my first real exposure to music is when I got my own clock radio and I could like just tune in all the channels. So I listened to a lot of like the K-rock at the time, which was very like kind of new wave and cool. And then what else? A lot of actually the top 40 stuff was just always there. I don't know how much that influences me in general, but I veered more into the punk stuff. So later on, kind of got into like the Clash and Ramones, Dead Kennedys, and those kind of things, and kind of ventured out from there into different subgenres and noise rock. And I'm a very complicated melange of genres. I can't really nail myself down to one category, but there's a lot of influences.
All of the music.
All the music's great. Yeah, it's funny because I got into metal first, then punk. And when I got into punk, I got into it really hard. But I was like a 13-year-old metalhead first, and then I was like, oh, what's the Sex Pistols that people keep talking about? And then I went down that road for the rest of my life. But yeah, I was a total metalhead first.
I also have some metal roots.
And then Shawn, I know you're playing drums now, but what was the first instrument you were drawn to when you started performing?
Well, originally when I joined the school band, I always wanted to play guitar, but my dad said, you can't learn guitar till you understand the piano. I'm like, okay. So I took piano lessons at the park. That didn't go that well because it's a pretty intense instrument to learn and it doesn't click. But then I took some guitar lessons at the park, and that did take me a little further. But eventually I had my good friend Tim, we wanted to start a band when we were 13. He decided he was going to play bass and I was going to play drums. And then I got a drum set and just went from there. But it took a while. It took a while until I actually could play the drums. But I picked it up pretty quick.
Drums are the hardest one, I think.
Yeah, you have to really. Yeah, I don't know. It's a whole body thing, so
yeah,
it's a little different.
And Spencer, who influenced you to pick up guitar?
I actually started as a drummer first. When I was 13, I got a drum kit and I was playing like all, like Cream and Black Sabbath and all any heavy drum stuff I could play. And actually, in the house I lived in, my parents were like, you got to stop playing after a certain time. And I didn't like that. So I wanted something that I could play without bothering everybody after 10 or whatever, So guitar felt like it was going to be too hard. So I went to a garage sale and bought a bass, like a super cheap, bass. And I just put a Ramones record on. And by that point, I was about 15 or so, and I just started learning Ramones songs. So for me, it was really like Black Sabbath and the Who leading into the Ramones as far as the bass stuff goes. And then I just learned how to play bass really well. And I played bass for a lot of years. And at some point I felt like, okay, guitar doesn't seem as crazy anymore. And I just started playing the guitar too. And so now I've always played a little bit of everything. And I play some piano and synth and kind of whatever I can get my hands on now.
Nice. And Tina, I know you said, it started with art for you, but when, what influenced you to pick up an instrument and start learning to play?
Well, I mean, I was always trying to pick up instruments as a child. We had this weird little thing in Cleveland Heights as like very small children called Delcros Eurythmics. It's probably even still around, and they just send you as like a child, and you beat drums and you run around and you learn about music notes and everything like that. And we still had a really good music program in the schools at the time. Cleveland Heights had all the way from the beginning, all the way through school, had a really great music program. So I you do your typical recorder and everything. I always had an interest in music. When I was about 12, I found a guitar at a garage sale, and I had to have it. It was a Univox, like sunburst hollow body, and it was $25. And I don't even think I had $25. I had to like borrow it and pay it back. And so I got started with that on the guitar. I have been mainly a guitar player for the whole time. I've always played bass, but I've only played bass in bands for the past handful of years. So I really love that. I have always like kind of incorporated writing on the bass with my guitar playing and writing. But I love doing both. They scratch different itches for me. I took piano lessons as a child, but I was really bad at it. So I would just kind of cheat. I would like learn what the song sounded like and then play them back by ear. And I always got in trouble. I love to get my hands on any and every instrument that I can. I used to like sneak into the band room and like sign out other instruments and like try and learn how to play them. But I'm still like that. I still want to play everything.
It's so funny. When I was in junior high school, there was like one music class you could take. So I got it in. I was very excited to get into a music class. And then they shut the class down for funding and they put me in sewing instead. And that was a nightmare. So like I missed the music class to go learn how to sew. And that didn't work out. So
it's also fun.
I know, but I wasn't good at it.
I joined the school band as well, but originally I wanted to play the saxophone, but there was already like 5 saxophone players.
Yeah, I wanted to play the drums, but there was already a drummer, and I was like,
so I ended up on the clarinet.
Oh no!
But then I just saw the drummers are having too much fun, but there's too much of them. But then later in high school, I joined the drum corps for a minute to get up
to be like in the marching band and stuff.
Well, it was great because the loophole was you didn't have to go to the PE class if you were in the marching band. But in our marching band only consisted of 3 people, like 3 or 4 people. There's like 1 trumpet, 2 drummers. So we didn't really have enough people to do it till like the second year. Then we did a little bit of the marching at the games. That was kind of fun.
Oh man,
I got some of that, got some music theory and stuff like kind of absorbed through that. I probably wouldn't have got otherwise. So it was good.
Nice. And when you first started getting into the music, well, I mean, me and Tina kind of grew up in the same music scene, but would you say like Grog Shop was one of your regular?
Yeah, I mean, Grog Shop, there was, I'm gonna have to search the archives here. I remember I started, because mainly my thing that I started doing, I started taking my camera to shows. So I
do remember that.
Yeah, that's probably where you see the name is. So I started shooting shows probably when I was about 15, and I think I first started at the Euclid Tavern, and I remember.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? There was like maybe 2 park hand lights, and I was shooting on like an old 35 millimeter camera with like no autofocus, and we didn't really have access to fast film those days. It doesn't make any sense now because you can just pick up your phone and shoot anything, which is excellent. But it was a lot, it was more of a challenge. So I look back at those and they're very blurry, but then I remember all of the things that had to come to even get that blurry image. So I started shooting a lot of hardcore shows, Euclid Tavern, the Babylon, the Empire, all of the stuff that was happening at that time. Frank and James band, Ringworm, Integrity, all of those bands that were playing really regularly, had like a lot of energy, a lot of interest, a lot of people coming and like swinging from the rafters. So I love doing that. That's what we did in Cleveland, is we went to shows, So I'm really fortunate that we have such a rich history of a scene there. And our scenes weren't really compartmentalized because we didn't, you know what I mean? They weren't separated. So like the punk and the hardcore, and you'd have these fantastic bills of like metal, hardcore, punk. Just we all hung out together. We all knew each other. So there wasn't really any separation of genres because, you know, the weird kids, there's just not enough of us to like be compartmentalized. So we were really all in it together. And that was great because, you know, then you get, you know what I mean? Like we all like all of the kinds of music. Just because you play something that's considered a certain genre doesn't mean that you don't love all of the musics also. So yeah, it's a great music scene, and it's still thriving. You know, there's a lot of great stuff there.
Yeah, I mean, back then I remember it wasn't so tribal, or maybe I just didn't notice it back then. But like you said, we all kind of came together, all the genres. I remember at the time when I was living with Frank, when we were roommates, Euclid Tavern. Like Frank let me introduce the band, and I did like cut this pro wrestling type of promo. It was a friggin' train wreck, but yeah, that was one of my fond kind of in and out memories from the Euclid Tavern days.
I probably have photographs from that show.
Probably. And then Spencer, like what was the scene like for you guys? I mean, you and Shawn pretty much grew up in the same music scene then?
I mean, pretty much, yeah. I think for me, you know, when I first got into punk, I started going to metal shows, like those big shows, like go see Iron Maiden and stuff. But when I got into shows, like local shows or bands that were from around here, I got pretty heavy into like the skate punk scene. So I was going and seeing like your NoFX and Rancid and, you know, Strung Out, all those bands like 5-6 nights a week. You know, whatever, any punk rock band that would play anywhere in LA, I would go see them. And I saw all of them. You know, I saw, you know, those bands 10, 15 times each. And it was great. You know, it was a good scene to be in. And then, of course, the Warped Tour came along and everything got much bigger. And then it was still cool, but it was a little less fun because it was just so massive. But for me, it was really like that. That was my scene growing up. And that was, I guess it's you know, it definitely is a scene full of misfits. There was just a lot of misfits in that scene at the time. And that was one of them. So it was cool.
Same with you, Shawn?
Yeah, pretty similar. Like, even though me and Spencer didn't know each other, I think we were kind of probably rotating in the same spheres. So, yeah, lots of different kind of like punk shows and kind of as much as I could get to when I was like younger, because it was just there was like a couple kind of all ages venues that we go to all the time. It has some pretty interesting things happening. But yeah, it's like skate punk and metal.
Yeah. I remember going to this show in downtown to see like NoFX and the Vandals, and there was a huge riot, and we actually never got in. And I remember that is before I had a cell phone, and there was a riot, and I'm running through the streets, and I realized I don't know how to even get in touch with anybody. It was one of the, I had no car. It was, someone dropped me off. So it's like, those are really weird times, but I'm really grateful for it to have gone through all that and been able to experience it all kind of, as a kid.
Nice. So before, or you survived, your parents dropping you off at the riot and ended up making it home. But when did Black Market Heart come together, and then how did you all meet?
Yeah, so like I said, Shawn and I knew each other from the Lords, and when I said a little while ago I started the band, I just wanted to record some stuff on my own because I've been playing in bands and never done anything for myself, So I wanted to just try to find something that I could do on my own and do everything myself and not have to worry about anyone else's schedule. So I went in the studio and recorded 3 or 4 songs, and it was cool. And like I said before, people wanted me to play shows, and I just had to start figuring it out. And I've been in bands over the years, and I played a couple of shows with one of Tina's other bands. And at one point, years later, I reached out to her because I knew she was a guitar player. And I said, "Hey, I'm looking for a bass player. Do you know anybody?" And she was like, "I know me. Like, I play bass." I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know you played bass." And she was like, "Well, let's try it." And it came down, and it's been perfect ever since. And I will say, for me, as a person that writes a lot of the songs in this band, having her on board has been really amazing because she's really good at telling me, like, that doesn't work, that does work, take that out, fix that, change that. And she's pretty much always right. And it's nice to have someone in the band that can be like, "Hey, that's working and that isn't."
Nice. And like, Tina, when was it that you decided to make the move out there, and what was it that brought you out there? Was it music?
I mean, I I moved out here in 2000. So I had already been playing music in Cleveland in like the mid 90s. I finally suckered some people into playing a band with me, and I had the Secret Cervix. I don't know if you ever.
Oh yeah. I remember I remember seeing in the Scene magazine all the time.
Oh yeah, we made it in the Scene, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, and we played with a lot of hardcore bands too. That was like the beauty of it, is that there wasn't any stuff. So I had a band, and you know, and then I think that my intentions, because I went to the art school in Cleveland Institute of Art, and I went there for photography. My intentions before going there, like I always knew I wanted to go to art school. I had been really intensely into photography since you know, since I was little, but like it got even deeper when I was in high school. Heights had a great photography program, so I took years of it there. I took classes at CIA on the weekends in their photography department. I really wanted to come out here to go to school, to go to art school. And then, you know, the intention was to like photography and then some sort of like motion picture. At the time, it was very much more like video. We didn't really have like a whole lot of film stuff. But I didn't, you don't know what you really want because you're like a child when you go to college. It's like 18 or whatever. So I got into some schools out here, but I could not manage to like get myself out here. And my family support system was not really supportive of me going somewhere. They wanted me to really stay in Cleveland. But I think that there was a theme pre-internet of that there wasn't a lot of creative work job-wise for people in the arts and everything. So the solid advice that they tried to give to aspiring youth in creative fields was to leave Cleveland, which was unfortunate because we may have, squeezed out some people that could have continued to help our arts and music scene flourish. But it was really just like kind of like, you got to get a real job here. You can't do that art stuff. You can do it on the side, but, whatever. So it was like you can either move to New York or LA. Those were like the major cities at the time. It was pre-Austin being cool. It was before Portland and all of even Chicago was really not like kind of the place that, that's certainly all changed. None of that is relevant anymore. But a lot of friends moved to New York. They packed up their little hatchback, drove 8 hours, and sold their hatchback and became New Yorkers. Some of them still are there. Some of them spent a lot of really great years there. New York is a little bit cold for me, and you still have to walk around and have wet feet. So I really came here for the weather, because if the choice was New York or LA, New York was, LA is just, it's got sunshine. So, and all those Cleveland winters, they really kind of did me in. So I really just wanted some sunshine consistently. I love the like rich history of punk rock that is also out here. All the skateboarders, I'm sure would come out here to go skating with their friends, bring back a shit ton of records of like old LA and OC and like Beach Cities punk. So we all were kind of, we had access to that. There was a lot of that you saw in like the Riot 101 era of like all those records and everything. So, Cleveland has an attachment to this area, and we also have kind of like an exchange program. There's a lot of Clevelanders out here. There was enough, in fact, that there was always, not only a couch to stay on when you landed, but as you got your own apartment, you do the typical Cleveland thing, and more Clevelanders come to stay on your couch. So, I got out here, there were already some Clevelanders and people from Canton out here, Whitmer and Paula, and I stayed across the street. Rita was in my building, and I stayed on Kelly's couch until I got a place. And then when I got a place across the street, Harold Way had like a big concentration of Ohio and Clevelanders. And then like Buddy and Mike came to stay out on my couch and everything like that. So it's still very integrated, even with the distance. But I ended up out here because I knew people and I needed this sweet, sweet sunshine. Sorry, guys. Love Cleveland, but I need the vitamin D.
No, I feel you there. My daughters are now growing up, so I'm looking for a reason to get the hell out of here myself. these winters, especially.
They're so long.
Yeah, and it's just not pretty snow anymore like it used to be. It's like just gray. you know, and just soulless. I hate it.
And I think people that don't live in LA, because LA kind of gets a bad rap until people come here and then they're like, oh, okay, I see why it's good. And then they come here and they like it. And I think it's always worth moving here.
Yeah, that's why Frank moved to Florida, you know, Frank.
Yeah,
now he's
Frank,
Florida Frank.
he's got the sunshine there. I remember coming through here as a young child. My mom wanted to go on a road trip with her French friend. They were going to do the Highway 1 and everything, which of course is like car sickness city. But when we were in LA, I just saw these beautiful sunsets for the first time, and it was probably like 1984 or something. And it was very like, it was the thick of the smog era. And my mom was like, that's from the pollution and the smog. And I was like, I don't care. It's pink and it's pretty. And I was hooked. I was hooked.
Gotcha. And then back with Black Market Heart, I'm always a name person, curious about what inspires the name. So is that a Spencer question?
Yeah, it's funny. It's like, when I was starting this, my girlfriend at the time, now my wife, we were talking about, what she called the band, and I wanted something cool. And she kind of came up with it. And the idea being that it plays on, like loud love songs, right? Love songs about loss that are loud. And also I like the idea of things that are kind of underground, and the Black Market, represents that. So that's really what it came from. She spit it out and I was like, that's the name. And it went from there. So it was one of these things that there wasn't a lot of thought put into it, I don't think. But when I heard it, I just knew it was exactly right.
He's lying. It means we'll sell your heart on the black market.
That very too, literal. Yes, that too.
I hear about that. That's pretty big out there around the Getty Museum or something. I don't know. That's. I
do love those stories when people get like their kidney taken, and you're like, well, where were you when that happened? Like, I'm not saying that you victim blame, but I don't think I go places where someone's going to steal my kidney. It doesn't happen to me.
Yeah.
No
Diddy parties or anything.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And then your single, "What Happens in the Dark." I'm talk about the message and inspiration behind that song.
Yeah, for sure. I don't always write things that are sad and down, but I do a lot, right? And that's just, I guess that's the form of therapy, right? And I'm not the first person to say that. And that song really is, it's and I think we've all experienced that feeling when you're so desperate for some kind of a connection with somebody or something, and it's always like, it doesn't matter what it is, you'll just grab whatever that is. So it really is about the desperation of wanting connection, right? And that you did not to be afraid of what happens after dark. It's the idea of not being afraid of reaching out and grabbing that, whatever it is, even if it isn't really real. So that's what that came from. And then I actually wrote the song, and I did a demo of it that was like a really different kind of version of it, as I often did during COVID, as I would record everything that I wrote, demo it at home in different versions to try different ways out. And then finally I found this version that I thought was really cool, and I brought it into the band. But that was like several years in the making of trying different kind of versions of that song with the same words, and just trying to find something that actually worked.
Nice. And then the video, was that like all iPhone footage, or?
I'll let Tina speak to that one, because that was her vision. So
all right.
Okay, so after I landed out here, I had your typical series of really crappy jobs, and then I was trying to get out of one particularly crappy job. We had a local film school. It was a 1-year film program. It wasn't entirely to get out of this job, but I always kind of intended to like get a little bit more into like film from photography. It seemed like a natural progression. So I went to this program at the Los Angeles Film School. It was great. We had the cameras in our hands like right away. One of the things as like at that time when I started was like when you sign up, they give you this little at the time it was cutting edge. You know what? I can probably grab it and show you. But it's a Canon GL1, so it's a mini DV camera, and which means it's digital but has a very small tape. And it was the prosumer model of the XL1, which was really cool because you could which kind of like was the beginning of digital filmmaking and how that really changed everything in the early 2000s to where it is now. But they gave us this little camera, and I ran around and was like filming everything with it. I think it was probably the first time I had my own video camera at all. And fast forward, I had like put it aside because now we have all these iPhones and everything like that. And video, we have access to video very easily. And I recently like pulled it out and dusted it off, and I just decided to bring it with me when we were doing the shoot. So I was setting up the shoot. I work in TV and film now. I do driving. So I have these old cars, and it's, it's kind of just like a daily occurrence that I'm working on set filming with cars and everything. And I'm like, well, shit, I want to do this for myself. You know what I mean? Like in our thing, just, staying creative. Like I'd made some music videos in the past. Like I did some for the Stitches and Super Bees and the Distraction. And, I love music videos. That's like kind of what I always wanted to do with film and photography in general, just because it's related to music photography. So I grabbed this camera, and I wasn't sure. I was like, I knew we would get good stuff with the iPhone footage. So we shot a crap ton of iPhone footage and, like mounted the camera here and there and held it and everything. And then some of the footage we did, I had Spencer hold the camera and operate as if it were a selfie, almost in the manner that we do with our iPhones now, but it's kind of like a bulky camera. And it turned out that was like my favorite footage when I was going through it. And there was one shot that was a oneer from beginning to end that like everything kind of came together. The performance was good. It was like kind of imperceptible that he was operating the camera. And I just really liked the way it came out, except for the one thing I hadn't considered in advance is the format of this was like a not quite square, but like the old TV format. So it was not quite as wide as what we typically have for widescreen now. So if it's in this square where we're here, it's only about to here. And as I was puzzling over what to do with it, I was putting it into the editing program, and we had some shots that were from the back window over the shoulder of all of us out the front dashboard. And that was widescreen from like the iPhone stuff, because the iPhone is so small, you can just kind of put it anywhere and you get like a little suction cup tripod or whatever. So I plunked it into Final Cut, and it did this thing where like the sides of the other footage fill out the rest of the widescreen. And so the square is there, and it happened to like line up perfectly. So I was able to use that. And if you notice it, if you go back and look at it, you can kind of tell what I'm talking about. It's not that groundbreaking, but it happened to work out really well. I really loved it. And I really love driving through the streets of Los Angeles in an old car, and just like the route from my home to our rehearsal spot is one of my favorite places, because you have this like long stretch of like industrial with all these like old car places and everything like that, and Sergio the Giant Man, and a really great view of the skyline and everything. So I was like, okay, we're gonna just drive around and shoot video, and it came out great, and I'm really happy with it. So now I want to just I want to do more. So if anyone wants a video, hit me up. We'll go do some creative stuff.
Nice.
So,
what car was that you're using?
It's a 1967 Dodge Coronet.
Nice.
I bought it from a coworker. I've acquired more 60s cars than anyone should really have, but I can theoretically justify them for my job, so try and stop me. So yeah.
So you use your cars in films if they're looking for that style of car or whatever?
Yeah, that one was most recently in what is it going to be? It's going to be like The Adventures of Cliff Booth, the next installment of the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which is the David Fincher movie that we just shot here. That one was in that. It does a little brief thing in that Bruce Springsteen movie. And, we work on stuff all the time. We can't even keep track. But, like, yeah, you'll almost never see stuff because it is so kind of like, blink and you'll miss it. But a lot of the times, if there's a show that's out here that's shot in, like, supposed to be in the past, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, I'm usually driving down the street in it. So it's a good gig.
Nice. Yeah, it sounds like it. And I was going down the, through on the YouTube channel, and Self-Destruct with Me. The title grabbed me because I could relate to back in the day when I was out drinking and using in the Cleveland music scene. That's pretty much what I was doing. I'm 17 years sober now, but talk about the inspiration for that song.
Yeah, it's actually very specific. I remember it exactly. So I like I said, I'm married now, but I had a first marriage, and after my divorce from the first marriage, I had a good year of being self-destructive, and that's what that really is about. It's like that time after you get out of something crazy, and you just kind of it's not that you don't care, but you kind of don't care, and you just do it whatever with whoever until your body can't handle it anymore. And that's what that song was about. It's like that first year when you're out of something, when you just kind of say fuck it and go crazy, and that's what I did.
Yeah, it's funny because like I said, I've been sober for a while, but it's like I still have that, that inside me, so it's like I'm drawn almost to those type of songs. So
it's interesting. I mean, look, I think that writing about that stuff is really fun. I think writing about it is better than doing it again, right? So I think it's good storytelling, and I think it's fun to look back at the stuff that you did before, be it good or bad, and kind of see how it shaped you.
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather listen to a song and be reminded of how I was than actually go back there. Yeah. So it reminds me why I should be grateful for where I'm at today.
I agree.
And speaking of that whole like mindset I was talking about, my brain is poison. That's another one I could relate to. Tell me about that one.
Yeah, I think we've all been through this thing where you know that no matter what, you're going to ruin a good situation, right? You're going to say the wrong thing, you're going to do the wrong thing, and it's kind of like an admittance of knowing that. You're like, oh, I know that the thoughts that I have are bad, and I kind of can't help it sometimes. And I guess everyone goes through that to a different degree. That's what that's about. Like I said, I think that I write about a lot of dark stuff instead of living a lot of dark stuff. Like I'm not sitting here depressed every day, but when I write, that's where it goes,
Yeah, well, it's kind of like journaling, like they say, get that crap out of your head, put it to paper, and why not make it a song?
That's
help the next person out.
I get a lot of the lyric ideas for songs either when I'm half asleep or in the shower, and then I have to scramble and try to write them all down, and then they kind of go from there. But they always start with like that germ of an idea, like I want to write a song about this feeling or this experience or this crappy thing that happened or this thing that I dealt with forever ago, and then it kind of blossoms from there.
And now the full length is out now, right? Just came out.
Yeah,
April 14th.
A couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Nice. And I was reading you recorded it in like 2 days at the Kitten Robot Studios.
We did. Yeah. It was really
talk about that a little bit. Everybody getting together and knocking it out in 2 days.
When do you guys want to chat about it for a sec?
I'm
just curious about Kitten Robot Studios.
Yeah.
It was cool. Yeah. Like, Paul is a great engineer, producer. He just has like a great mind for playing what you want, like how you think it sounds in your head. You can you tell him how you want it to come out, and he kind of just makes it happen. It was pretty amazing. And also like his studio is like really comfortable. As far as like the drum setup, he has like every possible drum thing you could ever want. He has like 4 different kinds of like modern drum kit, vintage drum kit, like 10 different snares. All these cymbals. It's like a virtual playground for drummers. So it just you just basically you can like throw everything up and kind of we got a sound real quick, probably like an hour or so, and we just started tracking, and it was going so well. We're like, well, originally I think we were only gonna do like 2 songs, and we ended up doing like 4, and, and then we actually since we got this all like kind of shaped into like a decent form, we're like, well, we should do this again, and we just decided that this should become a record. So.
Yeah, and I had a bunch of songs that were like half written. So Tina is like, well, start bringing them in. I'm like, I'm on it. So we just started working on the next 5 that we got done and went back in a few months later. So it was one day and then another day, separated by the writing. And Paul's great. He played in the Screamers, that legendary, synth punk band, and also 45 Grave and a bunch of other bands. So he's like a classically trained pianist, and the guy is just, he's just music coming out of every hole, right? So it's like he really, as Shawn said, knows how to take a band and kind of help you get where you want to get. And he has a great ear for melody and all these things that even though we're playing loud feedbacky music, he's like, yeah, but that doesn't sound like it's in tune, like all that kind of stuff. And it was a really cool experience, and we got through it really fast, which, that doesn't always happen in the studio. And I think when it happens, it's you can kind of hear it on the recording.
Nice. And what was one of the songs that that was half written that you brought in there and finished up there, but has been pleasantly surprised you the most how it came out?
I think, God, I'm trying to think of the ones we did the second time around. I think Radio Smash is one of the ones that came together really quickly at the end, where Tina and I always talk about bands like ESG, like dance punk bands and that kind of stuff. And they were like, "Why don't you write something
disco beat?"
Yeah, exactly. Like write something that has a disco, that has like a disco feel to it, something that that feels like you could dance to it.
Kids dance.
And I actually had written that song as a country song. So the lyrics were already written. I'd recorded like a little demo of it, like acoustic. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. I just have this song that I wrote. And then I was listening to the ESGs and New Orders and bands like that. And I'm like, wait, I think I can make this song into that. And I kind of went and wrote a bass line for it and brought that in. And then once we had that worked out, I had to figure the rest of it out. And then Shawn came in with this fucking awesome drum beat that, is pretty dancey. And that's one of those ones that came together really fast, and I'm really happy with it because it sounds, I think, different than the other stuff we've recorded, but still kind of sounds like us.
Nice. And now with the album out, which song do you feel? I mean, it's like asking a parent to kind of pick their favorite kid, but which one is like your favorite one to play live for an audience? And everybody probably has a different one, but we'll start with you, Spencer.
Again, I like them all, of course. I think that the title track, What Happens in the Dark, is really fun to play. And I also like playing Don't Fit Anywhere. I think that song's been really cool. I've been really happy with how it turned out. And that's one of those songs where I came in with a different song and Tina was like, cut that verse, move this here. And I'm like, yes, ma'am, it sounds great. So I think I'm really happy. Yeah, I'm really happy with how we kind of put our heads together with a song that I thought was done and then reimagined it and made it done. So for me, that's a really fun one to play.
What about you, Tina?
I really fell in fast love with Coyote. It's so different. Like I love thinking like we have coyotes here in the city and they are intermingled with our city life to the point where I was reading just the other day that they know our schedules, they track, they know how to like weave in and out of us very gracefully. And it's just like, it's amazing to see them because at first you're like, is that a dog? Nope, that's a coyote. But the song itself is just, it has that feeling of like being integrated into the city, but also kind of like going in the shadows of it, the same way it's kind of representative of just like the feel of the whole, like that, being an outsider, but still intermingled in it. And I love what Shawn did at the end where it like the beat change at the end. Like, I love where it comes in and you're just like, yes. So that's one of my
it's very satisfying.
It's so satisfying to play. I really love that. I do love Don't Fit Anywhere. I really enjoy playing them all, but Coyote is a standout for me. Shawn?
I'd probably say Without My Pills is probably my favorite.
Ooh, yeah.
To play because got that kind of I don't know what you'd call that drum beat, but it's very very fun to play.
Tribal,
kind of tribal.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah,
nice.
That's probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's funny. You reminded me of a time because we get some coyotes around here too. I live in Brook Park now, over by the old Ford plant and stuff, where they're about to build the dome for the Browns. I don't know. Anyway, that's a whole another thing. But I was driving back one winter up that Henry Ford Drive or whatever there that turns into Angle Road, and it was blizzard out and stuff, and I thought somebody's dog got loose or something on the side of the road, and I was just like, I pull my 4Runner over, I open my back door, I'm like, come on, boy, let me get you somewhere safe, and the thing's looking at me like, you dumbass, and it's just like, then I realized after the fact, thankfully it didn't jump in my car, but yeah, it was a coyote.
Yeah, I see them 2 or 3 times a week at this point. They're everywhere.
Yeah. So with the album out now, any talk of are you guys got any shows booked to play to promote the album?
We actually had 2 this week, and we have another one coming up just right south of downtown next month. So yeah, we're just starting to kind of get out there and play some shows around and let people know about the record. And we're going to be working on a vinyl release for it. That'll probably come out later in the month. And yeah, it's been cool. It's been really fun to just get it out there and have everyone listen to it.
Nice. I know with all the uncertainty in the world and how much just gas costs these days, but Any chance of it ever coming? You guys bringing it to Cleveland for us here, like a little homecoming?
I guess
fly
there's
direct.
always a chance. Yeah, I guess there's always a chance, right? You know what I mean? I think that's the kind of stuff that we just have to play by ear. You know, if the situation arises, sure, why not?
We would love
Nice.
to play Cleveland.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it'd be great to have you guys back, you know, and experience it live. Now, for fans out there that might be new hearing about you guys and want to pick up the album and support you and check it out, where would you send them?
So look, I mean, you can stream it everywhere, all the regular places. You can download it on Bandcamp if you want to get it there, you know, or Apple Music. And like I said, we're working now on a vinyl release, and we'll have that out and get that posted on all the socials as soon as it's ready to go. So yeah, the physical thing, I feel like I like having a physical medium. I think it's really cool to have, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But it takes
I'm
a little
old
bit
school
longer,
like that.
longer to hammer down than the digital does. So we're in the process of getting that together. And but yeah, you know, go to Bandcamp, check it out there, and go listen to it on Spotify and Apple and everywhere else. Amazon, it's all over the place.
Nice. Yeah, I miss those old days, man. And just sitting down in front of the record player, putting headphones on and going start to finish on a little journey, you know, by checking out the art, reading the liner notes, you know, the good old days. That was the closest I think some of us got to meditation, you know, back in the day. Now everything's just so fast and distracting.
I'm still pretty much an album person. Even digitally, I like to listen to the whole album if I can. That's for me. I really love that statement. You know, I mean, if it's a single, it's a single, and that's fine. But I think it's cool that somebody makes a record and that you spend time deciding on the order of the songs. And I like that you can evoke a feeling from beginning to end with that, and hopefully some kind of a ride for the listener. So I'm still even on digital releases, I try to listen to the whole record if I have the time to sit and listen to it all.
Nice. I really love I love the tactile nature of being able to hold something in your hand, and you know that a band was thoughtful. Like they made the choice of like doing a picture sleeve or like an insert or like, you know, a lot of whatever, like little notes inside, and that you can sit and like enjoy that while you're listening to the record, and that, you know, that it takes that moment to flip from side A to side B. Like I still listen to records regularly at home. It's something that I really enjoy. And so we are working on, I think it's more like the new thing now is like a kind of an on-demand vinyl thing where people order it and then it's made and shipped to them. So I'm working on the layout for it now. And it's really pleasing to think that somebody is gonna, you know, have something that's this size, that your artwork will be seen in about like this size of a thing, and then when it comes in, you know, something like this, it's like, you know, it's just, you can't like, it's just like, it's like books but they're records. So you know, and then thinking of it like that while doing the layout is really satisfying. So I'm taking my time, enjoying it. It will be ready very soon, but you should be able to, we'll post the information on how to get it, but I'm really looking forward to ordering one for myself and being able to hold it and being like, we made this, you know, like it's a really great kind of way to culminate an art music project.
Yeah, for sure. I'll definitely have to link up to your guys' socials to see when that comes out, because I'm like that too, man. You know, I love collecting. I mean, I don't have the space for it much anymore, but you know, it's like there's some things you just like, you know, I like to hold on to something that they can't take from us. The internet can't go down, and you know,
right.
I'll still have it.
What are people going to listen to when it all crashes? We got to have a little bit of spare power to plug in our record players so we can still have our dance parties. Exactly.
And then before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you guys a couple questions I normally ask my guests that I have on. And we'll start with you, Spencer. Who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Anyone? And that's a good question. I mean, look, I think I would say from a music standpoint, there's a lot of musicians that I love, of course, but I'm gonna say Geezer Butler, the bass player from Black Sabbath, because for me that's like taking the bass to a newer level, and it showed me as a musician what you can do with an instrument that I was still learning how to play. You know, I think that's a really kind of cool thing. And you know, I think that oddly enough, for good or bad, my dad was there. He was there for me all the time, and was the kind of person that introduced me to music and showed me how it all worked. And I think that this may be kind of a cheesy answer, but like, my wife's made me a better person, so I'm going to say my wife's the other one, because we've been together for a long time, and I've gone from being, you know, a lesser person to a better person and a happier person. So for me, those are the 3 that I think were the most important in my life.
Yeah, good answer, man. That couch gets cold. So, and how about you, Tina?
Ooh, I don't know. I'm gonna say I'm gonna go with Pete Oster taught me how to paint cars, and I know this is seemingly not music related, but it is very much music related. We spent
Yeah,
a
it
lot
doesn't
of time,
have to be music related.
yeah, I mean, it's also, so he taught me how to paint cars. I also learned how to work on cars. I spent a lot of time at the shop over in Berea. There, we listened to, he had a lot of old cassettes of, I got a good education on the blues there. He had a lot of old, well, he was just, the stuff that we'd listened to at the shop was really great. But I think the main thing there was just the encouragement and the ability, like the problem solving that you get from working on cars, and like and like the automotive paint, doing custom stuff and cars and motorcycles and graphics and everything like that. It's all mixed up for me, but the ability to problem solve and like to feel like you're resourceful in whatever you're going to run into, you'll find a way to figure it out, get it resolved, use your community to figure out what to do next. So he was a big influence on everything for me. I know that when I was discovering punk, seeing Alice Bag on the front of a record was kind of revolutionary for me. In the most of what we had been exposed to in mainstream was a much more polished version of an unattainable, glamorous version of like women musicians. So like that kind of thing where it just didn't feel like that was something that you could, it was so kind of like otherworldly that you're like, well, that could never be me. And the accessibility of women in punk was very inspiring for me. Like you just like, oh, I could do that too. Like that's reachable now. I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of it. And then 3, I'm gonna do a shout out to my my photography teacher, Mr. Jordan, for letting me take all that darkroom equipment home every summer. I'm putting a little darkroom in my basement when we weren't in school session, and letting me cut class all the time. Like the little delinquent I was, I spent all my high school years in the darkroom printing band photos. So that really, that being a part of the music scene like that, being an introvert, being able to like hold a camera in front of my face but still participate in a way, before I was able to successfully sucker people into being in a band with me. You know what I mean? So thank you, Secret Cervix, for finally like agreeing to play with me, Leslie, Keith, Beth, and everyone else who was along the way. But yeah, that was all of it together has really helped me continue to get by on it.
Nice. What about you, Shawn?
Oh yeah, that's kind of tough. I guess from a drumming standpoint, I always kind of got a lot of inspiration from like Bill Ward from Black Sabbath, or like Topper from The Clash. Those guys that kind of, there's this real, they kind of knew how not to overplay and just kind of drive things home. Like, so I think those are two kind of reference points that I pull from a lot.
Nice. And then I'm as we were talking about being collectors and stuff, I'm still a kid at heart, and I think, what was it, Mr. Fun's out there in Coventry or whatever, that
Big
was
Fun.
the old Big Fun. Yeah. I always like to ask this question. What was your favorite toy as a child? And we'll start with you, Shawn.
It's a good question. I can't remember. I don't know. I'm having trouble with that one. Favorite toy.
Is there anything that you collected? Was there anything?
Oh, collected. Let's see.
Yeah.
I guess I was pretty into Legos. I had a pretty good collection of those. I'll go with Legos.
All right. And what about you, Tina?
I'm sure I had some favorite toys. One of the things that I really remember loving was getting to play in the neighbors next door to my grandma's house had like a dirt pile in the front, and we would play, we would just like the Hot Wheels and the Star Wars toys of theirs. We would play with those. So I remember that a lot. I had a thought, like now with all of the franchises of how Star Wars has become, I remember recently thinking how the generations after us didn't really get to play with those in the dirt because soon after they became collectible and they stayed preserved in little boxes. So just growing up in the era where you could really destroy your toys before you knew that they were collectible, and they were probably all covered in lead paint and everything. But yeah, I really like that stuff. I don't recall any toys that I had of my. I can't think of it. That's a tough one. You got to give us an advanced time to think about it. I know Spencer's really quick to come up with stuff, but yeah, I loved being able to just kind of play in the dirt pile, you know, with the Hot Wheels and the probably more the Hot Wheels than the Star Wars toys. But I don't recall really having any of my own on that one. You know, it was back in the days that like the genders were very specifically toy oriented, like girls get dolls and boys get cars. So hopefully that's switched a little bit. Spencer?
Yeah, I mean, my answer is actually pretty similar, but it's true. I mean, I was a Star Wars freak, and I think that what Star Wars has become now is kind of not really my thing, and I feel like it's a little more, you know, it feels a little cartoony, more cartoony than it was then, right? But as a kid, those original Star Wars movies were everything to me, and those toys were equally everything to me. And I had that mud pile in my parents' backyard that I played in every day as a kid. So it's really kind of the same answer, but I love those Star Wars action figures so much. I think that I still have one or two of them in a box somewhere. You know what I mean? Like a dirty old stormtrooper sitting somewhere. But yeah, there was no collector's items. It was just, let's get them, let's play with them, let's destroy them, and you know, and then
mash them.
Get another one at some point, right?
Yeah, exactly, man. I don't know how much money I buried in a sandbox or like used a magnifying glass on for like battle damage or whatever. Right,
exactly,
you know?
Yeah. I remember when I realized you could take G.I. Joe action figures apart and put them back together in different forms, and I was like, oh, I can put the legs of that one on them. And that's what I was Frankensteining action figures with screwdrivers as early as I can remember, you know.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. That's awesome. And then any message you guys have for our military members currently serving overseas?
I mean, look, I think that people talk about America a lot, and I'm a firm believer that this is actually a pretty good place. You know, I think that there are a lot of problems with this country, like any country, but I married an immigrant, right? Somebody that was a refugee here, so I understand what it's like to live like in other places. So I think that people that spend their time defending that are really important, and I just, you know, I really appreciate that because I come from a military family too. My father was a Marine, my grandfather was a Marine, so for me it's like I have a lot of respect for it, so I just say thank you.
All right, thanks. Yeah, I always ask that question because like I'm retired Navy, and on my last deployment it was like, you know, I would like podcasts were kind of new, and my friends back home here were doing a podcast. And I'd just throw on the headphones when I had downtime. And it felt like I was back home, you know, listening to them telling stories and stuff like that. So I like to kind of give back to the next person that's over there just trying to get out of their head with
I think whatever you can do to help is always a good thing.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, guys, it was great talking with you. And Tina, good seeing you again.
Good to see you too.
Hopefully, like I said, you guys can bring the show to Cleveland sometime. I'd love to see you guys in person. And then, so and then you mentioned where people can listen to you at, but if they want to follow you guys,
you want to on Instagram, it's at Black Market Heart Music, and then it's blackmarketheart.bandcamp.com, and you know, and find us on all those places and go and listen and download and pass it along, man. Like, you know, I just want people to hear these songs. I'm really proud of what we did.
Awesome. Well, like I said, great talking with you guys. Thanks for the hour of your time.
Thanks for having us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
All right, guys. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye.
All right! Listen up! Hold on to your seats! Grab your girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Balaam Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle.
Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.